But that's how it all started in seventh grade. And then I smoked until I was 62. So it's quite a while and never quit.
Almost 50 years, yeah.
It didn't even quit when I was pregnant with my children. Smoked less than I did in my old life, but I didn't even quit because I was pregnant. They ruled my life. They ruled every moment of everything I did. And I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that anymore. I couldn't even get down to half a pack of cigarettes where I was like, oh no, I gotta go get some more. I can't get that low. What if I smoke too many tonight? And what if I'm out in the morning? And it was a constant thing that I don't have to worry about anymore. And it's like, I don't remember me as a smoker now. I mean, I'm me now, and I'm not that person that just had to be outside smoking everywhere I went. It's just day and night of who I am. And I'm glad I got to see this side of my life.
Hi everyone, this is Nasya Davos and welcome to this episode of Ask an Ex. Every Ask an Ex episode features an inspiring CBQ program member who broke up with destructive habits and found freedom. The ex I have with me today quit smoking with the CBQ Nicotine Freedom Program over 4 years ago, and she's here to share her story. Please welcome Lori Scobey. Lori, welcome and huge congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much, Naja. It was all you. Couldn't have done it without you.
Well, I'm sure it was not all me. I'm sure it was 99.999% you. Yes.
It was a miracle.
Tell me about this because,
I had never dreamed that I was going to even think about stop smoking. I just didn't think it was anything that I would ever be able to do. So just don't worry about it. And my doctor gave me lung x-rays every year and they came out great until that last one. And she said, well, you're showing the beginning stages of COPD. And if you continue to smoke, it can go downhill very quickly. Or if you stop, it shouldn't progress. And that was the scare that I needed to redirect my thoughts. But my thought wasn't, oh, I might die. My thought was, I can't be that woman in the grocery store with the oxygen tank. I don't want to carry that thing around all the time. And that's how my brain was working at the time with cigarettes. And, but I knew this time something's got to give. I don't want to be that woman that can't breathe without an oxygen tank. So I first read Alan Carr's book, which was a good book, but he didn't give you the tools that the program gives you, and you need those besides what I just read. And then I decided I'm not going to smoke my favorite cigarettes, which were Virginia Slim Lights. You can't have those anymore. You can only have something you don't like, which was a Marlboro Light.
Okay.
And but that was all in my head because really they all taste the same. And then I was feeling like they were stronger, so I would smoke half a cigarette at a time. And then I tried one day just to quit. And that didn't work. That was probably a good hour and a half, and I was running to the convenience store to get some more cigarettes. And so then I thought, well, what can I do? And I started looking on the internet for maybe another book to read something. And I came across you. And from the minute I saw your video, I trusted you. What you said made sense. It didn't seem like, oh, well, I don't know about her. It was from the moment I was just like, I trust her. I'm going to try this. And it worked. And I'm still in shock.
So that's why you call it a miracle.
Yes.
Yeah. Because so before that health scare with the initial stages of COPD, you've never really tried to quit before?
Not really, to be honest, Naja. I just thought, oh, it's not hurting me. The lie to yourself part, I had a cough and I would swear to myself, that's sinus drainage. That's not what that was, because when I quit smoking, that went away.
Wow.
And I just was lying to myself about the whole thing and like you said, the first thing my mother ever told me when she found out I had started smoking was, oh, you can't do that. If you ever start, you'll never be able to quit. And I really believe that. It's just not possible to quit. So I
Wow.
never even tried. But
Yeah.
now with your program, it opened up some light bulbs in my brain. So, and it worked.
Yeah. And it's over 4 years now.
Yes.
So that is not a small thing. This is a huge
No.
milestone.
And the visualization part, Naja, where you were saying visual, I had never visualized myself, never thought about myself not smoking. And I was having the hardest time. What's my visualization going to be? And then I decided I have never owned a pair of leggings like, people wear to exercise in, because I didn't exercise other than shopping. That's what I called my exercise. And so I said, okay, I'm going to visualize myself climbing to the top of a hill, because we're in Tennessee here and it's plenty of hills, in my leggings and not be out of breath and make it to the top of that hill. And that thought for some reason helped me so much. And I could see myself getting up there. And because I had been to the point where I was out of breath walking up the little incline of my driveway, from the mailbox. So it was like, so immediately when I did quit smoking, I replaced boredom time with moving, walking, the deep breathing, anything. And it worked, just like you said.
Yeah. And you did something really brilliant, Lori. You created two powerful pictures in your mind. One was the lady with the oxygen tank that you just didn't want to have that for yourself, which was what you wanted to move away from, and you wanted to move towards. That's your second powerful image of someone fit, healthy, being able to climb a hill, and in your nice leggings.
And I have plenty of leggings now. And I even go to an exercise class. So that's unusual for me in my old smoking self.
Yeah. So you actually ended up living that vision that you had created for yourself to motivate you. It's your life now.
Yes. And it's just like, for the first time in my life, I was always, my best friend smoked, one of my best friends, but the rest of them did not. And we'd been together since 7th grade, all of us. And so we'd go to dinner and I'd be the first one, I didn't even finish my meal. I got to run out and smoke and come back into the restaurant. And they're all bawling their eyes like, oh God, here she goes again. And so now it was so free. The first time I went out to eat with them, not to have that cigarette rule my time with my friends. And then it came in handy again with a sick person in the hospital, without thinking when my dad died, it was like, I've got to run outside and smoke. I've got to run outside and smoke. And I regret that. That was time I could have spent with him, but no, I let the cigarette rule me. And so it's a very, very good life not to have to worry about those things.
Absolutely. And how is, if I can ask, how is your health now with COPD? Are you feeling better? Are you breathing better? What did your doctor say?
It has not gotten worse. It's still there. She said the beginning stage, that will always be there. It won't ever go away. But it has not gotten worse. And they had me give them your name and the name of the program, because they were going to pass it on to some of their patients too. But they're happy for me too.
I'm sure. And thank you so much for recommending the program and passing it on.
Oh, anyone who wants to quit smoking, I will definitely recommend you. But the truth with me was I had to want to. And up until that point, I guess I didn't want to. But after that scare, it was like, I got to find a way. I got to do it. And I found you.
Yeah. And for how long did you smoke, if you can share? When did you start? For how long did you smoke? Yeah.
I started when I was 13. I'll tell you that story.
Yeah.
I'm still friends with the two girls that taught me how to smoke. We were at the skating rink in the bathroom, and everybody, the three of us were going to smoke, and we couldn't leave the bathroom till we blew a smoke ring. And we all three did. And both of them never got the habit. It was just me that continued on and on and on. And so my friend tells that joke today that was with me when we were in there. She's like, yeah, Lori could blow a smoke ring really good. So, but that's how it all started in 7th grade. And then I smoked until I was 62. So it's quite a while and never quit.
Almost 50 years,
It didn't even quit when I was pregnant with my children. Smoked less than I did in my old life, but I didn't even quit because I was pregnant. And I know a lot of people that they would quit for that, but I didn't.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't. And there is a lot of shame and guilt around that. So thank you so much for sharing that, because there is a lot of guilt that comes with that.
Well, and I had it too. I'll never forget when my first baby was born, and back then there was an ashtray in the hospital in 1986.
Yeah.
And so I smoked the next day in my hospital room, and she came to bring my son in, and she said, who's been smoking in this room? And I said, well, me. And she just gave me a disgusted look, and when you smoke, you don't feel like it's disgusting like that. But and that was back in the 80s where it was pretty common.
Absolutely. It was allowed everywhere. It was considered normal. Hospitals, airplanes, everywhere.
Right.
So
offices.
There was a different reality. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I look back at some movies like from back then, and everyone's smoking, and I thought, it just dawned on me the other day. I watched Daisy and the Six, and I thought, well, no wonder I started smoking. Everybody in the world smoked then. It wasn't unusual or bad image at that time. So.
Yes. And even today in modern and new movies and TV shows, they really have lots of smoking and vaping images inside because it's advertising. People.
Yes, exactly.
You really brainwash unconsciously people and show them, oh, you're stressed. You're supposed to smoke a cigarette when you're stressed, or you're going through a hard time. You're supposed to have a bottle of wine and a tub of ice cream to go through it. And we internalize those associations, but they're all nonsense.
Right. And then in the reality, I was the only smoker. There wasn't anyone else around me smoking. So that was just that image out there that wasn't true.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. So all this time, you never really wanted to quit, but that moment, that meeting with your doctor was the moment where you said, okay, I need to create a different future for myself.
Right.
Right.
And I was scared. At that point, I got scared. I thought, and again, the oxygen tank, not really that you could die tomorrow. It was like, I've got to carry that oxygen tank around. I don't want to do that. And, which sounds silly, but that was my thought process.
Not silly at all. Because remember in the program, I mean, it's been a long, long time since you joined. It's been 4 years. But one of the things we talk about is that we all have logical reasons and we have our emotional reasons. Logical reasons is why we should do it, why we must. Our emotional reasons is why, for some reason, a specific thing matters to us. Doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to relate to other people, but for some reason, it clicks with us. And that's what it was for you, that image
it
of...
It was.
Yeah.
And had I not found you, Nasha, in your program, I don't know that I would have been able to quit, because no one ever approached smoking like... And see, what got me with you was you were a smoker. And I was like, oh, well, that gets me, because she's not one of these judgmental people that has never smoked trying to tell me how to quit smoking. And so that meant a lot, that you could relate with what we're going through and the excuses we give ourselves and all that. But
that is very, very important. And I remember when you actually quit smoking on that final day, you shared an email and you said, my last cigarette, it's Wednesday, the 20th of October, 2021 at 6 a.m. It was very, very specific. And you said your method made sense from the start. And I cannot wait Yeah, which, of course, because if something does not make sense, I believe you cannot really trust and implement it. It has to make sense. But one of the things you said is, I cannot wait to say I have been smoke-free for 1 year. That's one
Did
of
I
the
say?
things
I
you
don't even
said.
remember that,
You did
Naja, but
say
I
that.
do remember that last cigarette. And I remember what you said you did when you quit, and you just took it and stuck it in that ashtray and said, "I'm done." I did the same thing. And then
That
I
was
got
it.
rid of all the ashtrays. They went in the trash can, and lighters, and
Yeah.
I had a scary situation about 8 months after I quit smoking. We were kind of coming home from a trip and had car trouble out in the boonies, and there was no taxi, and we had to have our vehicle towed to the shop to get it fixed. And we were actually stranded at a convenience market. We went to fill up, and then the car wouldn't start.
Wow.
And so I was sitting there, and that's the closest thought I came, because the little policeman that was there in this little town in Florida, and he was like, well, only way I can put you in my car is to take you down to the jail. And I was like, well, that's okay. We don't want to go in your car. But I said, do Ubers come out here? And he's like, oh, no. And we thought, well, what are we going to do? We're stuck. And we finally had to pay the wrecker driver to let us ride with him, because that was against their rules. But anyway, I was looking at that convenience store, and I thought, no, I'll kill you if you go in there and buy cigarettes. And so I didn't, of course. And I thought, if I can make it through that closely after I quit smoking, I'm on the road.
So in the 4 years that you've been smoke-free, over 4 years, that is the only time that you've ever considered.
Yes. And the nope, not one puff ever, went into my head. And I thought, if you just take one, all this work you've done's over. And it's not going to get you to the car and to the dealership to get the car fixed any quicker. And God's probably going to make it harder for you if you go get those. And so I did not. I said, nope.
That's very wise. And how fast were you able to really remove your thoughts from the story of the craving mind and just shut it down?
Very quickly. It was just a thought. And I looked at the building, and I thought, and then it was just like, no, you can't do this. This is you worked way too hard to let this go. And I didn't. And like, it's funny, Naja, I can smell someone smoking a cigarette, like if you go to the grocery store out in the parking lot, and I don't think it stinks, but I don't want to smoke one, but it's just like, oh, I remember that smell. Where most people say, you'll be horrified if you smell smoke. I'm not horrified. I'm just glad I don't have to do that every day, every minute of my life.
Yeah.
But
everyone is different. Some people are horrified. Some people are like, okay, it's just something I used to do, but it's just not my thing anymore. And some people are like, oh, tobacco smell, but still don't want to smoke. So everyone is different. And I'm really glad you shared that story about that one moment, because it goes out to show that a life without cigarettes doesn't have to be a craving every single day. It also doesn't have to be, I am afraid I'm going to have a craving thought. It's just having that trust that I can easily say no.
Right.
And the fact that you had that experience, and it's very, very good for your overall freedom, because you gave yourself that point of reference that my craving mind can pop up in an extreme time of distress, and I can say no.
And I did.
And you did, yeah. And that was very close.
One puff since the program.
Yeah.
Because I believe if I had one puff, I believe it'd all be over again. Too much work.
Absolutely. And that's very wise of you, because some people, and I have been one of those people, we had to learn many times the lesson that 1 equals 1,000. But those people that are actually wise, like you, can really know it without having to have that horrifying experience, because you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
I just know that I don't ever want to have to depend on cigarettes ever again. They ruled my life. They ruled every moment of everything I did.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that anymore. I couldn't even get down to half a pack of cigarettes where I was like, oh no, I gotta go get some more. I can't get that low. What if I smoke too many tonight? And what if I'm out in the morning? And it was a constant thing that I don't have to worry about anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And what else? What other positive benefits did you experience as a result of you quitting smoking? Better health, more fitness, not
Mental
having that
health.
stress. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be a little shaky. My dad had little shaky hands. My aunt does. So it's our little family trait.
Yeah.
But I noticed when I quit smoking, my hands weren't as shaky as they used to be. So evidently it was doing something to my nervous system, speeding it up or something. And I mean, there's all kinds of, like 3 days after I had quit smoking, my boss came up to me, who was a longtime friend of mine, and she said, I see a difference in your skin. And that was only 3 days later. I was like, really? She was like, yes, definitely I do. So it's just everything in a positive way after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations.
The money that you save. Oh,
A lot, right?
I treated myself to a few trips shopping after that. I was like, well, I deserve this new purse because that was about a carton of cigarettes right there.
Yeah. So your quality of life improved in every way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's brilliant. And yes, you do deserve it.
I want back from that old lifestyle. So.
Yes, because when we do smoke, we cannot, and you share that as well. You had that experience that we cannot imagine life without those cigarettes.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was possible. And I'm like, I forgot what day it was on the videos. And let me look at my note here. See, you said nothing will happen if you don't smoke. Just try it. And like the first morning without smoking with the coffee, it was like, oh, this isn't possible. And then it was. And nothing happened. And I'm like, that made so much sense to me because I literally thought I'll stroke out on the floor or something if I don't have my cigarette with my coffee. Nothing happened. The day went on the same. Everything was the same. It's, yeah.
Yes, that's a great point you're bringing because what we do in the program, we're not just saying nothing will happen if you don't smoke, which is true. And we do say that. You also get to experience little moments of how it feels like to not smoke in an old association.
I remember one of the exercises you had to do was to do something without smoking for like 2 hours. And so I had my grandson with me, and he was probably 10 then. And I had to take him home, which is about a 45-minute trip there and home. And I was determined that my assignment for today is to take Braxton home. Of course, I wouldn't smoke in the car with him. But once I dropped him off, I would smoke. And I thought, no, we're going to make this round trip with no smoking. And I did. And I was shocked. And I remember one day it was about 3:00 and I had only had 4 cigarettes. And I was just like, oh my gosh, is this me? And it was just happening. And it's amazing.
So what I'm hearing is that, yes, quitting smoking was doable. Would you say it was easy for you?
It was easy with your program, yes. I still had that little mind going away, like, well, maybe just one, or like when I told you we were stranded with the vehicle, but never did that rule me. That was over and done with quickly. If right when I was like the first month of quitting, I would think, oh, but what if I just had one? And then I would do the breathing technique, like you said, or get up and go walk around the building where I worked, and it would go away. And it was like, wow. Another thing that helped me, Naja, was you were saying the essential oils. Well, I just happened to have in my desk, someone had given me for a Christmas gift a little sample thing of eucalyptus spearmint lotion. And I had never used it because I had another scent I liked. But I thought, well, it says essential oil. So I put that on my hands. And then when I started to think about, oh, I might be a little jittery here for a cigarette, I would just smell it like that on the lotion on my hands. And that eucalyptus spearmint helped me. I would keep that in my purse. So like after you got through at a restaurant, you think about, oh, it's time to smoke. You just do this and smell the lotion and went away.
So you replaced really the automatic habit of lighting up, at least at the beginning, with
the essential
smelling
yes.
something, and that opens up your breathing as well. So it feels good.
And for some reason in my mind, that particular scent gave me healing feelings. Like, oh, I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah. Because even when we're sick and we rub our chest, is that eucalyptus smell as well.
Yes.
So how long, if you can remember, how long did you need that transitional phase where you had to soothe yourself and remind yourself, oh, we don't smoke anymore?
It really wasn't that long. I really don't remember, Naja, but I still have a little bottle of it in my purse just in case I get in one of those hairy. It doesn't mean that for me anymore. Like I want a cigarette. It's just like I get anxious. I'm fixing to hear results from the doctor and I'll put some of that on. It just kind of helps. It just redirects my mind.
Yeah.
No matter, I mean, that way I wasn't thinking of smoking, like to see what the doctor says, you're just a little anxious and it just helps.
Yeah. So what started as a replacement for the cigarette now took a life of its own, and it's just something you reach for. Yeah.
When I need a little comforting.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. And this is a great replacement habit that you added to your toolbox. It worked for you. It was a healthy thing to do. And I love that it took a life of its own, because right now it's not a craving thought that reminds you I need to do that. It's just, I need some comfort. I need to just feel it.
I just need a little comfort, and it works.
Yeah. Yes. And you have created those associations in your mind. So that's your go-to, and that's perfect. It
is.
It works for you. Amazing. So how long would you say at the beginning did you feel like you needed to reach for the smell, but also do deep breathing, walk around? When did you notice, and I know this is a hard question because it's a long time, when did you notice that, wow, it's been weeks or days and I haven't thought about a cigarette?
I don't really remember, because the things that I was doing, like getting up and walking around the office, became embedded in my mind. You'll be healthier, so why don't you get up and go walk? It wasn't really associating it with because you're thinking about a cigarette. It became more embedded in my brain as it will be good for you right now to just get up and walk. And then I started walking with my neighbor. I started walking 2 miles a day. If I didn't walk, I felt like I felt like I needed to do that every day. It just became a habit that had nothing to do with cigarettes. That didn't. It was just how I worked into new ways of living, I guess.
Very well said. So you just transitioned to healthy Lori, and you were doing the things that made you feel healthy.
Yes, and it made me feel good when I did them. So I wanted to continue to do them.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I can tell, Lori, that you really did work the program. You really committed to that process.
I really did, because I meant to bring up here, I forgot to bring it up to the table. I had a notebook that I printed out every lesson we did, every exercise. I worked for the school system. I'm not a teacher, but I guess that's embedded in me. I had tabs for day 1, day 2. I have it so fully organized that I just I could never let this go. I've got to be able to touch this and look at this for the rest of my life.
Wow. That's brilliant. I can tell, because some of the experiments that and the exercises, because the program is not just lessons, there is a lot of behavioral modification. And I can tell you did them, and some of them were not
I did.
easy.
I never, Nasha, listing the cigarettes, you know, how we had to answer the 5 questions, how bad was the craving. I never once would let myself slide on that. I was like, no, you're going to do it. She says it's very important. There were days when I didn't want to do it, but I did it because I just thought I'm going to give this every ounce of shot I can to do what she's asking me to do, just to see if it will really work. And it really worked.
Yes. And that's why, because you completely committed to the process.
I did.
And it shows. It shows in your results that you had an amazing experience with quitting smoking and your smoke-free life. I'm curious about something, Lori. When you were about to have your last cigarette, let's say you were on day 9, day 10 of the program, do you remember how you were feeling?
I was kind of excited.
Okay.
And then scared. Okay. It was like, will it happen? And then it's like, I'm excited. It might really happen. And then it's like, oh, or am I going to blow it? Am I going to just take one draw and then ruin it all? So I was excited, but a little scared that I was going to blow it. But then every time that little negative thought came, you told us what to do, and I did it. And it went away.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, because that is, I know everyone who's listening and is close to their quit date, they've done the program and they're close to their quit date, they may have those exact same feelings of fear and excitement and this back and forth. So thank you for sharing that.
It was just like, I went to work I had put that cigarette out at 6:00 in the morning. And that was the only one I had that day, was just one. And I smoked it and I put it out like you said you did. And then I went to work and it was like, okay, I'm not smoking anymore. And I made it midway through the day. And I went to my boss, Jill, and I said, Jill, I've quit smoking today. I haven't had a cigarette. And she said, what? And she couldn't believe it because I didn't tell her exactly the day or any of that stuff. And she just said, you can do this, Lori. And she was right.
She was right. Yes, she was right. And Lori, what advice, because you've had an incredible journey, what advice would you have for someone who struggles to quit smoking? Maybe they had a diagnosis like emphysema or COPD, and they have started thinking, is it even worth it? Will my life get better? What's the point? They're just a little bit stuck by this negative thinking. What would be your advice to that person?
Oh, just trust Naja and do what she tells you to do. And you're not going to want to carry around this weight of cigarettes for the rest of your life. It's so wonderful to be free and just do what the program says do. Give it your all, and then it will work for you. But if you're halfway doing it and not writing down your cigarettes, skipping a day, and I know a lot of people on the program, they stayed on day 3, 4, 5, 6 days, but I was not that kind of student. I was the one that says, no, I'm doing one day at a time, just like she wrote it, and that's how I'm doing it. And each to their own. You know, some people may need it extra days. I just felt like I'm being a quitter if I got to stay on day 2 forever. I'm just really letting myself smoke a little longer, prolonging quitting. But that's not how that works for everybody. I understand that, but that's my little way my whole mind works.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, for you, commitment meant I'm just gonna go all in and I'm gonna focus completely on each day, and I'm just gonna do it because I know myself, and if I stay longer, I'm just losing my bearings, my track. Yeah.
Right. If I continued on day 2 for 3 or 4 days, that was just me giving myself an excuse to prolong it before quitting. And
Yeah.
I didn't, that didn't work for me. It works for some. It's not a wrong thing. I don't think everybody's different. I'm just one of those personalities that I got to do it all. I got to do it all at once, or I don't do it at all. Got to do it right.
Yeah. Yes, and you're right. It's absolutely fine for some people to take longer on some days because everyone's life is different. There are just so many reasons, and that's absolutely fine.
Right.
But what really matters, whether you do the program in 12 days or a month or 2 months, is commitment and consistency. And just, we know when we do our best. Every person knows, and that's what really matters.
Yes, and I would be knowing if I was trying to get out the easy way, because I'd done that all my life with smoking, that this time I was going to be serious. I was going to do exactly what you told me to do. And that's just my personality, and other people aren't like me. But I did it, and it worked.
Yeah, it did. And back to what you shared with me on your quit date, you said, I cannot wait to be 1 year smoke-free. And the fact that we are over 4 years later now is just incredible.
It is, and it's like, I don't remember me as a smoker now. I mean, I'm me now, and I'm not that person that just had to be outside smoking everywhere I went. And it's just day and night of who I am. And I'm glad I got to see this side of my life.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And how fascinating this is, that you can smoke for 49, 50 years.
Yes.
And in just 4 years to just almost forget completely that you smoke.
I didn't do it,
Yeah.
And it's just certain things I do remember, like when I've had a family member that was in the hospital about a month and a half ago, and it was the ER visit and all that. And I was, how you're always, and I never once, the thought that went through my mind was, thank God I don't smoke anymore. And I'm not sitting here in this ER wanting to run outside and smoke and having to go in and out through security. And I was like, thank God that's not an issue. I can focus on the sick person and not that anymore.
Yeah.
So there are times where you're glad you're not a smoker when you think about experiences like that.
Yes. So old craving thoughts become gratitude.
Yes.
Of the current state.
You're right. And I'm thankful all the time. I'll see someone, it's so cold, outside on the sidewalk smoking, and I'll think, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. I can be comfortable and not have that ruling me around.
Yeah. So freedom. That's it. Freedom. That's what this is all. Health and freedom.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, Lori, thank you so very much for sharing your inspiring story and your insights and your entire journey. It's over 4 years, and I know that what you shared will help many, many people, whether they feel stuck or they're somewhat doing it, or they need that hope, or they think they need to fail many times before being successful. You have shared so many things that can help other people. So thank you so much for that.
Well, and I want to do it because I would watch your Ask an X when I was going through it, and that helped me so much just to really hear somebody else's story, and that it really worked, and they really did quit. And I would be like, wow, they quit. They smoked as long as me. So yes, I do think it's helpful, very helpful.
Very, very. And I know you're going to help many more people now with your example.
I hope so.
Yeah, I am sure. And to everyone watching, leave a comment below and let Lori and I know what you're taking away from her journey that can help you in yours. We're looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.